Hey guys, it's Dylan, and today we are talking carbohydrates. So, carbohydrates, I mean, they got probably the worst name out of any food group when it comes to losing weight, losing body fat. But we're going to be getting into it, and we're going to be telling you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, carbohydrates, I mean, why do they have such a bad name? Because they do have a really bad name. You talk to basically anyone about weight loss, and what are they going to say? Just to cut some carbs, eat a little bit less carbs, do a little bit more exercise. Pretty simple, right? And I mean, the main reason why that'll work in the short term is because people just tend to consume a diet way too high in carbohydrates. What most people's daily food will look like will every meal it'll be majority carbohydrates. It'll be cereal for breakfast, fruit for morning tea, a sandwich for lunch, fruit for afternoon tea, then something with rice for dinner. And this is if this is what your diet looks like at the moment, and the reason why you're not getting results is because that percentage of carbohydrates is way too high. All right. Now, what do you get when you're eating such a high volume of carbohydrates or percentage of carbohydrates? When you cut them, is you're going to lose body fat. Now, if you cut them completely, you're going to get some pretty good results over the next 2 weeks. Okay. Yes, you're also going to feel like absolute crap, and we're going to get into that into why you're going to feel like crap in the next slide. But you're going to get some good results. And this is what a lot of people do. It only works once or twice because your body gets damaged from doing it. It doesn't want it to happen again. But basically, when you cut carbohydrates completely, you will lose a lot of body fat and a lot of weight very quickly. But the likelihood of it coming back on are extremely high. It's certain that it's going to come back on because when you reintroduce carbohydrates, you're going to have some element of metabolic damage where your body's not used to eating carbohydrates anymore, which again we're going to get into the next slide. So why are low carb diets so popular? Because people eat too many of them, and it's such a quick fix. It's such a easy fix. If you eat a lot of something and you take it away, something's going to change. You're essentially completely changing your diet by taking away them. Now, why don't we specifically cut carbs? I mean, we do put a limit to people's carbohydrates based on their individual needs and individual goals and their individual bodies, but we don't completely cut out carbs. And the main reason is because there's no room to move. So if we told you to completely get rid of carbs out of your nutrition, let's say you're getting some good results over the first couple of weeks, let's look, in 3 or 4 weeks when your body starts to your results start to slow, you've got nowhere to go. Okay, and basically we're all about lifestyle, and you can't really live a lifestyle where you're not even eating a carbohydrate. It's not a fun lifestyle anyway. So can you actually lose body fat or lose weight whilst eating carbs? 100% you can, and it's something we do all the time, and it's one of the most important things to do. Carbohydrates are a great fat loss tool. So, I mean, a little bit more information on carbohydrates. They are our muscles and brains' number one energy source, okay? Number one energy source. So this is what our bodies like to use the most. It's so simple for us to use them. They're readily available. I went for a long period of time in a different lifetime on a really low carb diet. I remember when I started reintroducing carbohydrates, I was like, wow, I can actually function properly now. It was crazy. But, by severely limiting carbohydrates, your body's going to be essentially really wanting them. Your muscles are going to be limited, and your brain is going to be very foggy. So what happens when we don't actually eat any carbohydrates? Performance in life and in work and, of course, exercise completely drops off. And the other thing that not many people tell you is your body actually slowly loses the ability to break down carbohydrates. So this is a form of metabolic damage. So our body is no longer, after, say we restrict something for 6 months, our body's no longer used to actually utilizing that source of energy. So our bodies can use fat as a pure source of energy. It's a lot longer process, but carbohydrates are what our body prefers, but they can get used to producing fat. So what does that mean when you start eating carbohydrates again? They're not going to be utilized how they're meant to, and your body's just going to be basically storing that energy as fat. So a little bit more information, just wrapping it up before the next slide is on carbohydrates. I mean, it's really important to understand that anything is bad in the wrong dose. Even water, you can drown from drinking too much water, but it's essential for life. So moderation is key. There's this all or nothing approach to life that everyone has. You're either eating too much of it or you're not eating it at all. There is a middle point where you can have moderation, and that's something that we like to preach. I mean, lifestyle is the most important thing, guys. So eat your daily carb allowance that you'll get in one of the following steps. I think it's step 4. Every day. Don't worry about eating. You're not eating under that allowance. You're eating bang on that. Okay. Carbohydrates are a great fat loss tool. So let's say you're a female that wants to lose some body fat. Your current macro carbohydrate allowance is at 120 grams, 150 grams, doesn't really matter. Let's say in 3 weeks' time things start to stall, and all we have to do is drop your carbohydrates for another 15-20 grams. Things are going to start kicking back off again. Now, if we completely cut your carbohydrates and we try to do this, like, you'd have nowhere to go when you plateau, because you will plateau, guys. So use the macro calculator below in one of the following steps to calculate your carbohydrate intake for your goal, and make sure you hit that number every day. Those macro targets, they're not to like a limit, they're what you should be hitting. Energy content. So it's really important to understand that carbohydrates, like protein, like fat, have their individual energy content as well as an individual role that they play in the body. So carbohydrates, as we said before, they're an energy source. They're utilized for our muscles and our brain. So the energy content of 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. So calories is a measure of energy. So if you eat 100 grams of pure carbohydrates, that's 400 calories. That's not actually that much, guys, believe it or not. Like 400 calories is nothing. All right, so that's carbohydrates. Make sure you complete the 2 questions below in the mini quiz and post them in the Facebook group.